McGrice. It's World Milk Day today, yes, World Milk Day. And while many of us consume a range of dairy products, a large number of Australians are shunning it altogether. And new research shows many have no medical reason to do so. According to a study commissioned by Dairy Australia, 1 in 7 Aussies avoids eating or drinking dairy products, while 2/3 don't have any formal diagnosis for dairy allergies. 45% of people who avoid dairy say weight management is a concern, and women are less likely to believe dairy can actually help with weight management. Joining us this morning from Adelaide is behavioural scientist Dr. Sinead Golly from the CSIRO, and dietitian Melanie McGrice is in Melbourne. Sinead, we'll start with you in Adelaide. 1 in 7 Aussies avoiding dairy. It seems a very high number. Now, many don't need to do it for medical reasons. I guess they're just doing it because they feel better without the milk or its byproducts in their system. Is that the reason?
Oh, absolutely. What we found is about 3/4 of people who are actually avoiding dairy are doing so to manage what actually sounds like quite distressing symptoms. So, mainly gastrointestinal in nature, so, bloating or cramping, but also things like feeling nauseous as well as mucus buildup, which sound absolutely awful. So I think we can understand why people are making the decision to go dairy-free, or at least to reduce the amount of dairy in their diet. But one of the concerning statistics that we found was that, as you said, most people are doing so without a medical diagnosis, and that's concerning if people are symptomatic. It is worthwhile checking with your health professional to make sure that the symptoms you're experiencing are actually related to the food that you're consuming, and there's not something more serious underlying how you're feeling.
Sure. Well, Melanie, we'll bring you in. Now, what do we need dairy in our diets for? What's the important role that dairy fulfills?
Well, first of all, it's one of the core food groups. It's really rich in protein, but one of the most important reasons is for its calcium, because it has it's got calcium that's very absorbable and a very high amount of it. And although there is calcium in other foods, not nearly as much in most other foods. Okay,
a lot of people, though, will say, well, I don't like to drink too much milk. I'll put on a little bit of weight, or I'll go to low-fat or skim milk. That is accurate, is it not? Or is that a myth?
Well, it's a bit of a myth, really. I mean, I don't mind. It's great for people to have low-fat or skim milk if they are watching their weight. That would be a good thing to do. But we have to remember that full cream milk is less than 4% fat, which is not very much considering. We describe anything under 3% as low-fat. And so if you can compare that to, say, a donut, donuts have over 30% fat. So milk's not really a high-fat food.
All right, Sinead, let's talk about the millennials. Some interesting stats here. 1 in 5 millennials are avoiding dairy. Social media, it seems, is contributing to half of the millennials who go dairy-free. So I suppose there's so many people on social media and other places saying stay away from milk or take it easy. How important is it to avoid Dr. Google when we're making these sorts of decisions?
Look, I think this kind of statistic really brings to light the fact that people are accessing many different forms of information and using that to influence or make the decisions around their health and what they're going to eat. And, social media and the internet are one of those, but our family and friends, as well as doctors and also health practitioners as well. So it really is showing that people are really proactive about their health and they're looking for information from many different sources, which is a really good thing. It's just important to make sure that those sources are credible and that the information that you're getting is really going to be beneficial for your health. The idea that, while you might be cutting out dairy to help with symptoms in the short term, as Melanie has been saying about, the impact it might have long-term on your health is something that you also need to consider before making the decision. But yeah, the higher numbers in the millennials is actually really interesting, and it might be driven not only just by the symptoms they experience, but also things like, maybe they're choosing to go vegan, maybe animal welfare and things like that are also a concern in that group.
All right, Sinead, Melanie, thank you. First day of winter and World Milk Day. Who knew? Hey, World Milk Day. Thanks, ladies. We appreciate it. It's 8:30. Here's Sal.